Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the show on this February 15th, a Monday, 2021. Thank you for tuning in. Glad to have you guys here. Now, I'm watching three different weather phenomenon that are it's not really something new. We've had these weather phenomenon all along, but it's the intensity of these three different types of weather phenomenon. One I notice is what I call a heat dome. It's a high pressure area. It forms in the summertime. And it's, you ever seen it? It's when the sky gets a white look to it, like a hazy, and it's almost like visibility is down for a certain distance. And heat builds up underneath that. Tremendous heat. Now, the body can only take a certain heat index before people start to get sick and actually die from the heat exposure. And these domes of heat are something that is a weather phenomenon that just started probably when we passed the year 2000. And they're getting quite bad as far as the intensity. We're going to be having them this summer. I think that the entire possibility is there for one of these heat domes to form and the heat index inside it to go up too hot. Just too hot. And these heat domes can form and they can move over Europe, parts of Europe. And this is typically where they form, Europe is very vulnerable to these heat domes. Now, there's another weather phenomenon that I'm keeping my eye on. And it forms in the United States, and it can be more devastating than a hurricane. And this is a weather phenomenon, too, that we've had all along, but it's the intensity that we're talking about here. It's called a derecho. And it's a frontal boundary that forms a massive storm with massive winds. And they're not the same winds. They're not rotating winds like in a hurricane. But they're equally powerful. And these derechos are getting stronger and stronger. Now, some of the derechos we've had, the winds, sustained winds inside them can be 120 miles an hour. You got to understand that we've had these derechos all along too, but the winds used to only be like 60 miles an hour. They've like doubled. If we take that 120 miles an hour and we start getting super derechos in the United States, who knows how high the winds could go in them? It might not, the upper limit, because they intensified now to 120 miles an hour, they could go up to 180 miles an hour. Just that little bit of that difference between 120 and 180 would just knock down everything. Trees, houses, everything in front of it. And a derecho could move for hundreds and hundreds of miles across open country, So we gotta keep our eye on them because we might get something called a super derecho. A derecho with winds of like 180 miles an hour that would go through like 4 states. And could knock everything out. I'm seeing that as a possibility, and so we've got these new weather phenomenons. Now, another new weather phenomenon, and I'm not really meaning they're new. They've been here all along, but for some reason, ever since we passed the year 2000, these weather phenomenons are getting far more intensive. They're getting far more strength to them. And now what we got is something called the polar vortex. This is the third one I'm watching. And we got one right now over the center of the United States of America, a polar vortex. And what's happening is people are running things like space heaters. Well, they're cold, for crying out loud, They dig around in their closet, they find a space heater, and they plug it in. Well, those son of a guns, they take a lot of electricity, space heater. And you get a lot of them on the grid, and you get in what's called rolling blackouts. So now, right now in Texas, we're having rolling blackouts because of this weather phenomenon called the polar vortex. Interesting. I don't see it. Polar vortex is something that doesn't last a whole long time. Generally, only lasts for like a week or 2 weeks or whatever. It doesn't. But it's here right now, and you guys are probably feeling the effects of it. Cold weather. Let's get the charts started and take a look at what's happening in the markets today. Let's start the charts right here and take a look at what's going on. We're going to take a look at the silver price first. Silver price is $27.55. It's up 20 cents today. It's going along pretty strong today, but these silver dealers, there's still a massive shortage across the United States, and different silver dealers are out of a lot of different items that they normally have. And where they get this silver, well, first it comes from the mines. And then they smelt it into these dory bars, which are 1,000-ounce bars, And this is a typical bar that they use for supplying the mints. It's a bar that they use to supply everything, is these 1,000-ounce bars. Industry, everything. They're big bricks of silver, big white-looking bricks of silver. How many of them do they have left that they can actually sell to cover all of this increased demand in bar and coin and in industry? Do they have enough dory bars? I think that they're keeping that pretty secret, the amount of 1,000-ounce bars that they have left in the storage. It's a well-guarded secret, and maybe they have enough, maybe they don't. If they don't, we could have a real silver shortage, and a real silver shortage wouldn't be in the bar and coin. That's not where it would be. It would be in the 1,000-ounce bars. That's the real shortage, and we're going to have to wait. But we see a real shortage in silver. There's only one answer for it. The silver price is going to shoot up. And it's going to shoot up until it hits the point where people who are holding silver are willing to sell back into the market to supply demand to help these miners out. See, right now they're just working off a mining supply. But if the price of silver goes high enough, people will sell back in and they'll satisfy the demand, because there's a lot of silver held in private hands. But what price would that have to be? What price point before people would say, hey, you know what? I'm a stacker, but I'm selling some. Well, you'd have to figure that out yourself, what price point that would be. So it's all really about price. Gold. Gold today is $18.17. It's down $7 on the day so far. So, see, silver's up, gold's down. That means that the silver to gold ratio is moving a little bit closer again. Cryptocurrency today, we're looking at 1,475 billion. That's 1,400,000,000. Well, it's 469. It's dropped a few billion off, but right now a Bitcoin price of 47,825. Looking at Ethereum at 1797, Cardano at 87 cents, Polkadot at 28.83, XRP at 56.49, Binance is 131, and Litecoin is 211.21. Chainlink is $34. Let's take a look now at the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones is 27 points up to the day. In the good, 27 points. Now, here what they're doing is, they got the stimulus, the $1.9 trillion stimulus package, and they've got it about halfway through. And I heard that they approved it. Yes, they approved it. They're going to send out the $1,400 checks. I heard last night. But the bill is like halfway through there. And I'm going to tell you right now, right up front, if this stock market starts to roll over, like in the next few days or whatever, they'll rush that bill through. And you remember what the last bill did to the stock market, the 2.2 trillion. Well, this is almost as big, 1.9 trillion. That 2.2 trillion way back last March has buoyed the stock market up. It was 18,000, went up all the way up to 31,000. Well, this stimulus package is almost as big. And so it's almost like an insurance policy that the stock market's not going to roll over and die right now. The fact that they got that stimulus bill in the works. Now, the stock market could start to roll over, but they would push that stimulus bill right out. And boom, it'd go right back up again. So you guys that are out there waiting with bated breath, maybe trying to short this market, you better be careful thinking about shorting this market. You know what I mean? I mean, you could lose a lot. Anyway, let's take a look now at that crude oil. 60.26. It's up today. It's finally cracked above $60. The MOVE index, 4701. And it's up a little bit today. We only keep our eye on this for one reason. Because this is the credit markets. This thing can explode higher. No rational reason behind it. No rhyme or reason. It can just explode higher suddenly. And it has before in the past. And if it explodes higher, this is what the Fed really keeps their eye on big time. And this will move the Fed into action if this MOVE index goes up high. Let's take a look at the bonds and rates today. Looking at the long end rising. And it's fairly substantial. 1.21 on the U.S. 10-year. And it's over 2 on the, it's 2.01 on the U.S. 30-year. And now let's check into the U.S. dollar index today. 90.36 on the U.S. dollar index, and it's going along sideways for the U.S. dollar today. But you know, the dollar, if the dollar was compared against gold, for instance, or compared against Bitcoin, we would see a crash in the dollar. But the dollar's being compared against the euro. Mostly it's like the Swiss franc, I think it's a pound, Great British pound, and the euro. That the euro makes up 60% of the US dollar index. So it's all in what you compare it against. You know? And if you compare if you compare, I mean, it's being compared against things that are equally bad. And against equally bad things, it's probably the best horse. It's the best horse in the glue factory. Okay, listen, guys. Thank you for listening to my show. Like and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys in the very next episode. Bye-bye.